You know, the idea of being able to save and have our bank account grow to over $1 million seems so impossible to most of us that we have a lot of myths about millionaires, how they became millionaires and how they live. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you some sources about millionaires from two main studies. The first study is by the Ramsey Solutions Group that studied over 10,000 millionaires. And the second study is by a book that's called Rich Habits by an author by the name of Thomas Corley. And we're going to start off first with the question, are millionaires made or are they born into the right family? And before I answer that, I want to share that picture of the thumbnail with me as a garbage man. Stay to the end and I'll share how all of that is relevant to today's video. But the answer is 80% of millionaires in the United States are made, not born into a family. They did not have much, if any, help from their families in helping them achieve their millionaire status. In fact, 1/3 of these millionaires never made more than $100,000 a year. Now, I know $100,000 is a really good salary in the United States, but I've shared before that over half the people that make over $100,000 a year don't save a dime. So what are these millionaires doing that enable them to be able to save money and to be able to build up their net worth or retirement savings the way that they have? First off, they live like you and I. They don't live extravagantly. You know, they're not driving fancy sports cars and wearing $50,000 watches. In fact, their favorite car by a factor of 4 to 1 are Hondas and Toyotas, probably similar to the cars many of my viewers watch, myself included. I drove to film this video in my Honda Odyssey. And another thing is their homes. Their homes are just everyday normal homes like a lot of us have. 2,600 square feet is what Ramsey Solutions study of 10,000 millionaires found. So not a huge home. I mean, that's definitely a comfortable size home, but it's not a mansion by any stretch of the imagination. And then the other thing is, you know, what type of jobs do they have, right? If you're a brain surgeon, it's a lot easier to save $1 million than if you're a school teacher. But you know what? School teacher was one of the 4 most common occupations for these 10,000 millionaires that Ramsey Solutions got results back from. So, and those occupations were teacher, they were engineer, they were accountant, and they were lawyer, okay? Now, an accountant and a lawyer, you know, we think about as definitely being upper middle class. But teachers and engineers, those are solid middle class. Okay, admittedly, engineer may be upper middle class, but those aren't people that are making $500,000 a year. Those are people that, you know, are in the $50,000 to $150,000 a year range. So they still have to do a lot of things right. So what are they doing right? And to find out what they're doing right, I want to switch gears now, and I want to talk about Thomas Corley's book called Rich Habits, where he also surveyed thousands of millionaires. And basically what Thomas came up with is there's 4 main categories of millionaires in the United States. And the first category is what Corley calls a big company climber. So somebody that's working at like a Fortune 500, a major company, and they've been able to climb the ranks and they're an executive. And, you know, it makes it easier for them, it's not automatic, but it makes it easier for them to become millionaires because they're making a good salary for many years in a row, right? To become an executive at a Fortune 500 company is likely 10 plus years, for a lot of folks likely closer to 20 years. So they're making a good, solid income for their entire career. And if they're smart and they save money and they invest, you know, a meaningful portion of that, they can build up their net worth. The next category is what Corley calls a virtuoso, which is somebody that tends to be highly educated. They have a specialized skill. that few people can do, and they can charge a premium for those services. Again, think brain surgeon, right? The next category is entrepreneurship. Somebody that started a company, built their company, and probably was able to sell it and build up their net worth that way. They really had a concentrated stock risk in the stock being in the company that they were building. But Ramsey's study of, again, 10,000 plus millionaires shows that only 5% of those folks were entrepreneurs. So the other 95% did not start their own company. So how did these millionaires come to be? How do these two studies link together? And I think the Ramsey study and Rich Habit's book, I think the link is what Corley calls the everyday investor saver. And that's folks like you and I that do what we can. We live within our means. We follow Azul's top 3 rule for building your net worth. If you haven't heard it before, my main 3 rules are: I don't care how much you earn, you have to spend less than you earn. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 and 3 is 1 house and 1 spouse, right? A quick way to decrease your net worth is by getting divorced. And, I know that not every relationship is meant to last forever, and you have to do what you have to do, and being happy is really, really important. But investing in therapy, if you think marriage therapy, counseling can help, that's a good investment. Having 2 cars instead of 1 car, so you and your spouse can each have your freedom and go your own separate ways, and one spouse doesn't feel dependent on the other. Yes, you can save some money by just having 1 car, but again, keeping that relationship as solid as you can. And then 1 house. And in today's day and world, with Airbnb, having a second home or a vacation home, for most people after a period of time, they don't want to go back to the same. I'm not saying it's for everybody, and it's your money, spend it how you want. But those are my 3 rules for building your net worth. Spend less than what you earn, 1 house, and 1 spouse. So I think that's where the categories come together. And I want to talk about, Corley calls this, he doesn't call it the savers. He calls it the saver investor class. And the reason he uses the word investor is it's not enough just to save your money. That's great, and that tends to be the hardest part. But it's also important to invest your money so that it can grow over time. So that as you get older, hopefully your balance of your investments has grown such that the growth of your money on your money is actually working harder than you are to put fresh money in. So that is the study. If you found today's study useful, I know you're going to enjoy this study here that talks about the net worth and income of the top 1%, the top 10%, and the top 20%. It's super helpful to know how you compare.